We survive winter. We love baseball. Cleveland Indians baseball. We've always been here, through good times and tough times, but we still believe. We're loyal. We're fans.
Tigers Series sponsorship is presented by Chevrolet. From Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland, the home opener, as the Tribe welcomes in their divisional rivals from Detroit. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Starting pitching has been the key to the Indians' fast start, winning 2 out of 3 in Houston. Great starts from Corey Kluber, Carlos Carrasco, and Trevor Bauer.
Well, we felt that the starting pitching was going to be very good this year, and they're off to a very good start, set up by Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber. Went out and set the tempo. Although he did not get any run support, the Indians were shut out. He pitched a gem. Following that, Carlos Carrasco went out. He had 10 punch-outs, and then yesterday, Trevor Bauer goes out. The Indians nearly had a no-hitter. They went 8 1/3 innings. So the starting pitching has been there the first 3. It'll be Zach McAllister's turn. He won that spot in spring training, the number 5 pitcher. He will be the number 4 pitcher now, but you can see the starters on the season so far been very good. Zach has pitched well against the Tigers. Let's hope that continues this afternoon.
The Tigers pitching has been pretty good too.
Yeah.
They have yet to allow an earned run in their first 3 ball games. So a great matchup today here at Progressive Field. We'll be back with the starting lineups and today's first pitch right after this. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. still making their way into the ballpark. Before we get started, let's go downstairs to our Andre Knott. Andre, good to see Michael Brantley back in the starting lineup today.
Every home opener is special to me. It's something that you work for all off season. You train for to come in here and play in front of your home fans. Running out of the dugout to hear that crowd, cheer for you. It's exciting for me each and every time I think about it, and I'm blessed to be a part of each opening day I get.
Brantley and company ready to go as we take a look at the starting lineup presented by Toyota for the Detroit Tigers under manager Brad Ausmus. Anthony Gose in the leadoff spot, followed by Ian Kinsler. Then it's Miguel Cabrera, followed by Victor Martinez, J.D. Martinez, and Yoenis.
Today's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher will be Zach McAllister for the Tribe. Zach last year 4-7. He made 15 starts, a .523 earned run average, and Zach no stranger. He was 1-0 last year against the Tigers. He made 3 starts against them, pitched well, so he gets the start today at home.
And we're ready to go as McAllister lets it fly. Swing and a miss, as Gose wasn't going to spot him one. And the count quickly 0-1. Gose off to a great start for Detroit. 6 out of 11 in that opening series against Minnesota. McAllister pounds the strike zone. The count 0-2, and you can tell he's got some extra adrenaline. Running that fastball up in the mid-90s.
Well, he watched the 3 before him, and he wants to do the exact same thing. Get out there, get aggressive, throw strikes.
And the 0-2 off the plate.
A little windy here, but turned out to be a beautiful sunny day, didn't it?
You're not kidding. After the forecast, long range looked like a lot of rain. 1-2 pitch, fouled back. And all those clouds dissipated by mid-afternoon. And now not a cloud in sight. Indians last year were 8-11 against Detroit. Tigers won 6 out of 10 here in Cleveland. And the 1-2 just missed the outside corner.
Good pitch. Tried to get him to chase and maybe get a swing off the dish. He didn't do it.
Now the 2-2 goes a bouncer just by McAllister. Got a piece of it. Kipnis can't recover and make the play, so Gose is aboard.
Goes as a base hit. I don't know where that hit McAllister, and if it did, it deadened it where Kipnis couldn't come in and make a clean play on it. Get a look at it here. It's a fastball away. All goes off the glove. He couldn't catch it. It would have been an easy play for McAllister had he been able to hold on to it. He couldn't do it, so an infield single for Gose.
Gose has been successful in his only steal attempt on the year. Now Ian Kinsler. Ian Kinsler, 4 out of 11 on the year. He's already driven in 4 runs, 1 extra base hit. Zach McAllister a year ago was back and forth between the big league club, the minor leagues, the disabled list. He was in the rotation. He was in the bullpen. In the dirt.
Well, Zach had a spot on this ball club before spring training even started. He was going to either make it as a starter. He was in that job. He fought for it. He pitched well in spring training. He deserved to get the chance to start. The Indians, the staff, with a couple of injuries. Salazar pitched his way out of it. Josh Tomlin hurt himself.
Runner goes. Pitch is a called strike. Throw down in time. They got him. Yan Gomes retires Anthony Gose with a strike to Jason Kipnis, who slapped the tag on him.
Boy, you talk about quick feet, and I mean a perfect throw as Kipnis was just waiting there. That ball couldn't have been laid out there any better. This will be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. Watch the footwork. Gose had a great jump, but look at the throw. Kipnis in front of the bag, catches it, and just lets him slide right into it. Well done by Yan Gomes. That's a beautiful thing right there.
Now the 1-1 to Kinsler. Checks his swing. Did he go? He did, says first base umpire and the crew chief, Dale Scott. Now the 1-2. And that's out of play to the right. Boy, is it great to see a packed house.
Yeah. Yeah. They're still lined up. They can't come through the left field fence fast enough. I thought standing room only meant inside the ballpark.
The 1-2. Swing and a miss. McAllister strikes out Kinsler. 2 down. The Indians came into today leading the major leagues in strikeouts. That's number 37 as a staff.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you can throw a fastball by this guy, he elevated it about the letter high, and he couldn't catch up to it.
Keys to the game, Rick, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Control the guys who bat in front of Miguel Cabrera.
That's always nice.
Keep them off the bases, and that'll help get the crowd in it early. I'd say they're pretty juiced and ready to go. After watching Gomes throw out Gose, and then McAllister striking out Kinsler. Miguel Cabrera just 2 out of 11 on the year, but he's already walked 3 times. Swung on and missed. And McAllister quickly ahead 0-2. And the 2-strike pitch. Upstairs, Miguel Cabrera able to lay off.
Yeah, you really, when you get ahead of him 0-2, you want to really hump up and try and throw it by him. But right there, Zach got a little too much of it. Overthrew that pitch, and it was up and out of the zone. You want that little extra to get by this guy.
Now the 1-2. Bounced it to even the count. Well, Cabrera has had a ton of success in his career, in particular against the Indians. Hard to believe, Rick, he's already played 130 games against the Tribe.
Yeah, well, I know, and he's done a lot of damage in those 130 games.
The 2-2 to right field, and Murphy plays it on a hop. Patented inside out opposite field approach.
Just a tough out. He's down in the count 0-2, and you know, McAllister tries to overthrow a couple pitches, and I'll tell you, that guy can certainly hit. Here's the Indians defense, brought to you by Chrysler. It'll be Brantley getting back into the outfield. He's starting in left. Bourne is in center. Murphy in right. Chisenhall is at third. Ramirez at short. Kipnis second. Santana's at first with Gomes catching.
Lance Barrett calling the balls and strikes. The crew chief Dale Scott is at first. Dan Isanya at second. CB Buckner down at third. So 1 on with 2 out for Victor Martinez. Fouled right back. In football, you might use the analogy that Victor Martinez is reading the playbook of Zach McAllister, because he's 9 for 18 in his career with 4 doubles, a homer, and 7 runs batted in.
McAllister primarily a fastball pitcher, and you can't just throw fastballs to Victor or Cabrera. You're going to have to change speeds, move it around, and get him out sometimes hard and in. They love that pitch because they can serve it that way. They use the whole field.
Cabrera has to hold at second base. Brantley got to it quickly. And back-to-back two-out singles now for Detroit.
That's what makes those two hitters, Matt, in that lineup so tough, because there's no one way to pitch him. When Martinez, he gets up there sometimes when he wants to pull a ball, you know, he'll take big swings and try and hit you out of the park. When he puts that approach on it, he's a 330 hitter, and he is a tough out.
Well, now J.D. Martinez, who was a terrific find for the Tigers a season ago. And off to a good start this year with a couple of home runs. Good power to all fields for Martinez. And McAllister's pitch a little bit inside, ball one. Liner to third, and it's caught by Chisenhall to end the inning. Hit it hard. Might have knuckled a little bit on Lonnie, but he stayed with it. No runs, 3 hits, 2 men left. Now the Indians are coming to bat when we come back. Our window systems game time temperature today 53 degrees under sunny skies. It is breezy though, as you see there. It'll gust up to 30-35 miles an hour at times. Seems to be blowing out toward right center field. Let's take a look at the Indians starting lineup today. It is presented by Progressive Insurance under skipper Terry Francona. Michael Bourne in the leadoff spot. Then it's Jason Kipnis. Michael Brantley back in the lineup hitting third. Then it's Santana, followed by Moss and Gomes. David Murphy, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Jose Ramirez will bat ninth.
The Northern Ohio starting pitcher for the Tigers today will be Alfredo Simon, coming over to Detroit from Cincinnati in a trade. Last year his numbers 15 and 10 in his 32 starts. Got off to such a terrific start, ended up making the All-Star team, and then sort of cooled off the second half of the year. Got a little tired. We got a little
a wounded bird.
Okay, yeah, he's
he don't want to get in the box though. He's trying to fly out of here, but
these guys got to have some
wings
quick
just aren't
feet.
working.
Now they got to have some quick feet. We're okay.
So the bird is taken care of for now. I'm sure he'll get top-notch medical attention now. Michael Bourne, meanwhile, stands in, ready to lead it off for the Tribe. Alfredo Simon. He deals. And it's a strike over the outside corner.
He has an assortment of pitches. He gets that ball 92, 93 miles an hour. He's got the curve, a slider, and also he'll throw like an ephus pitch, a little splitter, to try and tease you every once in a while with it.
Line drive into center field and a base hit from Michael Bourne.
That's the stroke we witnessed Bourne having a lot in spring training. That inside out swing, line drive to left field, gets it started. Picked on a fastball, gets a base hit. Take a look at the Tigers defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. Cespedes is in left, Ghost in center, J.D. Martinez in right. It'll be Castellanos at third, Iglesias at short, Kinsler's at second, Cabrera at first with Avila doing the catching.
Now Jason Kipnis, who batted third the last 2 games with Brantley out of the lineup, back in the 2-hole. And we'll see what kind of action we get with Michael Bourne. Kipnis takes a called strike. Simon deals, and that pitch is up and away. 1-1.
Yeah, for a big man, he gets rid of it relatively quickly. He's under the average, I would say. He's about 1.2. Average time getting rid of it for a major league pitcher is about 1.3.
Bourne draws a throw.
That's the thing you see, is how quick are those feet to first base. Normally when you face the Tigers, most of their pitchers, well, they had with Verlander, who's on the DL, he had quick feet. Who else did we have? They had over there with quick. Scherzer was over there, and he would hold the ball. He would get real slow. And then the guy that went to Boston.
Kipnis sends a fly ball left center field. The center fielder Ghost gets back to grab it just in front of the track. 1 away.
Yeah, I bet the wind will knock it down going that way today. Better have a line drive stroke this afternoon.
Here is Michael Brantley. It was a late scratch Wednesday night and missed yesterday's series finale as well with some lower back tightness.
Well, you heard what it means to him for opening day starts. Yeah. It means a lot to him, so he wanted to make sure he was here for this one.
Brantley, a first-time All-Star last year, finished third in the MVP voting. Silver Slugger Award. Brantley was Dr. Smooth and Mr. Consistency. Led the Tribe in runs, hits, doubles, ribbies, stolen bases, and of course batting average. Bourne takes off. Brantley takes a strike. Throw is in time. Brantley is erased. Iglesias able to get the tag on him. 2 down.
He had a good pitch to throw on, and Avila made a nice throw. It's where Iglesias could put the tag on Brantley. I mean on Bourne. That's a very good throw right there, and down it comes just to get him before that foot gets in there. Slap tag awfully close. Good throw by Avila. So both catchers behind the dish with good throws in inning number 1.
Brantley takes another called strike. It's quickly 0-2. Six out of 7 pitches have been strikes for Alfredo Simon. Down on the dirt. Now the 1-2 delivery. And Brantley skies one in the air to left center field. In comes Cespedes. And the left fielder has it. The Indians are out on 9 pitches here in the first. No score after 1. Tigers series sponsorship is presented by Chevrolet. Second inning, no score for Detroit. Yoenis Cespedes, Nick Castellanos, and Alex Avila due up. Cespedes came over from Oakland. This guy was from Boston after he was traded from Oakland to the Red Sox a year ago. For a guy who has the kind of talent he does, it's almost surprising to see him move around that much. You'd think you get a right-handed power bat in this day and age, you want to hold on to it.
Yeah, that is true. You know, he had a few problems in Oakland as far as the injuries go.
Rolls to short, and Jose Ramirez throws him out, 1 away. Let's go downstairs to Andre Knott.
You know, Rick mentioned this earlier about Zach McAllister coming into spring training, knowing that he was going to be on the roster. And he said, you know, going to the bullpen last year, much like Carlos Carrasco, he said the game slowed down for him. He learned to trust his fastball, and he said everything else just went from there. Also, Terry Francona said that he thinks that the game slowed down for him, and that fastball, he thinks the mouth power will stay on it as it went up in the bullpen. He thinks that'll happen to him as a starter as well, guys.
Boy, it's interesting, Andre. We know that the bullpen experience helped Carlos Carrasco immensely in his return to the lineup, or in return to the rotation. And the same thing seems to have worked for Zach McAllister. Already the 4th hit of the game for Detroit. Wasn't hit hard, but Castellanos with his 2nd hit and 11 trips to the plate this year.
You know, you find out that when some of these kids, it takes 2 or 3 times to be called up and get opportunities before they really settle in. You know, so that trip to the bullpen helped him. But Zach, he has a good arm. He's aggressive. He's a tough competitor. Right now, for me, for Zach to take that next step and stay in that rotation, he's got to develop some secondary pitches, the changeup and the slider, and consistently be able to throw those for strikes.
Alex Avila. He takes a low heater for a strike. Avila off to a blistering start, going 4 for 8 in their opening series.
Yeah, you look at Iglesias, Ghosts, and Avila. They're 1, 2, 3 in the AL in batting. They got off to such great starts. 3 of them 16 for 30.
Out of play.
You know, you think it would be the Cabreras, the Martinezes that are doing the damage to you, and they didn't. It was those 3 guys there in Minnesota that did all the damage. And then again for Minnesota, they scored 1 run in that series, and it was an unearned run against the Tigers pitching.
McAllister ready with the 0-2. And that's fouled away. Alex Avila back in 2011 won a Silver Slugger Award when he hit .295, belted 19 homers, drove in 82. But he has not come close to those offensive numbers since. His batting average dropped to .243 in 2012, .227 2 years ago, and down to .218 last year.
And he's also been dealing with concussions, though, as well over the last couple of years, and the knee problems that he's had from being behind the plate. And when your knees are not under you as a hitter, it's awfully tough to hit. He's a tough guy. How many times have we seen him take it? We saw him get a concussion right here last year. Foul tip. Went off the side of the mask. He had to leave the game.
Now the 1-2. Down in the dirt. Well, and the big reason why Detroit can obviously deal with declining offensive production from Avila is A, they've got a terrific offense otherwise, and B, his primary job is dealing with those starting pitchers, and he led the league last year with 36 runners caught stealing.
You know, he's done a beautiful job, and you're right, this may take pressure off him offensively when you can hit down in the lineup 8. And if Iglesias, who is behind him, stays at shortstop all year long, health-wise, a good pitch.
Ooh, awfully close.
Tough one to take with 2 strikes. We'll take a look at this on our Nissan pitch tracker. It's a fastball that's going to run away from him. Maybe a little outside or a little up. One of the two, but it was close.
So a 3-2 count now with Castellanos at first and 1 away. Shift on, 3 on the right side. Runner holds, strike 3 call.
That's paint.
He gave him the pitch before. It was off the plate. That one was close enough that Barrett rings him up.
Yeah, that's what you call some quick drying paint. Watch it on the outside corner and at the knees. There you go. That was down more. That's where you got that strike. That's a great pitch. You know, he took the one before, which was awfully close, and I'm going to say he called that one high, but right there, that's a good pitch and a strike, and you get the second out and his second strikeout.
Jose Iglesias fouls the first pitch back off the top of the screen, and it caroms into the crowd below. McAllister shoots for the outside corner, but just misses. Yeah, the count is 1-1.
Been able to get the first pitch in there for strike 1. 7 out of the 9 hitters he has faced.
To left field, shallow. In comes Brantley. And it's the shortstop Ramirez who went out and couldn't hold on to it.
I don't know if he heard the footprints or if he stepped on him or what. That was one of those plays where the outfielder usually calls off the infielder. If you don't hear him, then you take it. Now it's windy. It's sold out. Let's see what happens. He calls for it, and he just couldn't hold on to it. He heard him coming. Even though he called for it, he sees him or he feels him. That's right in his back pocket. And Michael's not sure. He was right and get ready to call for it. And then I didn't see it. Went off the end of the glove of Ramirez. So they will give him a hit on a play. Just a tough play. It's one of those things that nobody could really call for it, so you got to stay with it and take it as a young shortstop, and it went off at the end of his glove.
Well, on a day like this with the wind blowing in from left, it's going to push it back toward the infield.
It's first of all, it's sunny and windy. Now today, that's the second thing. The wind, you used to hate playing because sometimes you can't hear when somebody calls it in the wind. That's just one of those tweener plays that happen.
Yeah. Ever been on a golf course when it's really windy and try to yell to somebody on the other side of the fairway?
What are you yelling for?
Duck.
It is tough.
Good pitch in for a strike to Anthony Gose. Gose reached on an infield hit.
Well, see if Zach can pick up his defense here, because he should be out of the inning. This is a team you don't want to give any extra outs to.
Broken bat. Blooper going to drop in right field. Coming around third. Castellanos is going to score the game's first run. And on his way to third goes Iglesias.
That's how it always happens. They get an extra opportunity and they take advantage. Gose, who's off to a great start, breaks his bat but gets it into right field. Nothing Murphy could do, just throw it into second base. So Detroit draws first blood, takes a 1-0 lead. His 4th RBI on the year. Fastball in there. There you can see the bat shattering, but it goes as a base hit.
So first and third for Detroit. Already 6 hits in the game for the Tigers. And now up comes Ian Kinsler. Iglesias was going to try to steal home, and they throw back to third. He just did beat the tag. Boy, he took off and then slammed on the brakes. You can see where he tore up the turf. I'd say it's a good 30 feet down the line.
Yes, he steps off, and boy, he was able to get back. Right there, I guarantee his heart skipped a beat. He was thinking he was going to get caught.
1-0 Detroit as Ian Kinsler digs in, and the pitch is outside, ball 1.
Now Detroit they have their 2-out hitting shoes on, 4 out of 5 so far today. McAllister able to get to 2 outs, but is having a tough time getting out of the inning.
Popped up, back out of play. Well, during the first 3 games, the Indians pitching staff posted a collective earned run average of 1.04. Tigers have already put one on the board here in the second. The 1-1. Foul back out of play.
Now you keep your eye on these two that they have on base. This is one thing Detroit did. They got a little more athletic with some of their players. Gose coming over from Toronto. Iglesias, who had some problems with his shin splints last year, missed the whole year for the most part. But they can run if healthy. And here's a count now when you got a guy down 1-2. You can do a number of things. You can try and steal a run here in this situation if you're Detroit. Send Gose. If they think they're going to throw him out, he just stops and let Iglesias come to home plate.
McAllister ready. He fires the 1-2, and Kinsler fouls it off.
He's been able to get to 2 strikes on a lot of these Tiger hitters, but he hadn't been able to put them away.
Well, this has been, in some regards, a tough luck inning.
Yes,
Castellanos didn't hit the ball hard, but he blooped one in. Iglesias hit a ball that should have been caught, and Gose broke his bat and blooped one in.
That's true. Not hit all that hard, but still, you know, they go for hits, and it's unfortunate. Throw to first. Omar danced out of the way quicker than Gose did getting back.
Tough to see over there sometimes. You're looking not directly into the sun. It's not quite that far down on the horizon yet, but you do have the long shadows.
Yeah, 4 o'clock starts.
The 1-2 pitch to center field. Michael Bourne going back, still going back, makes the grab in deep center field to retire the side. A run on 3 hits, 2 men left. 1-0 Tigers, middle of the second. Renovations here at Progressive Field. The corner bar, multi-level action down there in that right field corner area. And just to the right on your screen, tucked back in, is the Indians live set where Al and Jensen were located earlier today. They'll be there before and after ball games. Ballpark really has a great look to it. A lot of hard work went into renovating this facility under some pretty brutal weather circumstances.
Extreme conditions.
Hats off to all the men and women who participated in that project. They did a fantastic job. Looks great.
Let's hope Baltimore joining us here today that worked on that. You know, they deserve to be here.
Now, Carlos Santana, 2 out of 10 on the year. One was a home run that helped the Tribe secure victory down in Houston in game 2 of the season.
Is it his birthday again today? If it is, then we got a good chance he may go again.
The 1-1 fouled off the end of the bat. You know the way I roll, I figure you get at least a month of celebrations on it.
Well, that's true.
So
I know it works that way for you. Well, the month of May. Don't worry, we'll be reminded of that in about 3 more weeks, won't we?
1 month from tomorrow, but you know, who's
I am Tony.
Now the 1-2, just off the outside corner, and Santana trying to get the Indians offense rolling here in inning number 2. Santana takes on the changeup down in the dirt, and a full count.
Boy, you can see that wind on the field, just their pants that are whipping around, and look at the sleeves on Simon. I mean, it is whipping down there. That is no fun to play in this kind of weather. The wind.
Now the payoff pitch.
Ball
4. Santana with another walk, and the Indians have their leadoff man aboard for the second time today. Take a look at today's injury report, brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk and Elk. The Indians making a roster move earlier today. Austin Adams was sent back to Columbus. Josh Tomlin put on the 60-day disabled list as he recovers from shoulder surgery. And Jerry Sands gets the call up. He was at AAA Columbus, but he's now with the ball club. Right-handed bat, can play first base, can play the outfield. Had a terrific spring training. That obviously opened some eyes. And with the plethora of left-handed pitchers that the Indians are going to face here going forward.
Yeah, we told you yesterday. They have 4 consecutive left-handers going at them.
David Price tomorrow, Kyle Lobstein in the series finale on Sunday. And the White Sox will throw a couple at him.
Yeah.
Tuesday and Wednesday. Brandon Moss looking for his first hit as an Indian. Tigers 3 on the right side. Interesting, Rick, you know, we've seen a lot of different shifts, and I know all these teams, they have their metrics and their analysis. The Tigers have almost a condensed shift on the right side. You've got Kinsler with Iglesias and Cabrera. I mean, they are really packed together tightly on the right side of the infield.
Castellanos way over in the hole between first and second, isn't it?
Fouled back.
So
yeah, Iglesias stays on the left side.
Yeah, Kinsler stays at normal second base, and then it's Castellanos.
He's over in the hole between first and second.
But it's really, they're not playing deep. A lot of times you'll see him play out on the grass. These guys are all on the dirt. So this is Detroit's version of the shift. But they have a chance to turn 2. That's why they have to stay in there.
2-1 pitch.
Look at this.
That's Castellanos, who goes to second base, and the Tigers do indeed turn the double play. So it's Castellanos to Iglesias, so that'll go 5-6-3 on the double play.
That's weird. And I mean, that just what we were talking about. They had the big man, the third baseman over there, and that's where he hits it right into the hole. So he's going to actually throw it over to your normal shortstop, and watch how quickly he gets rid of it over to first base to complete the double play. So that defense pays off for them. That was well scouted, well played, and they hit right into the strength of it.
So 2 down now for Yan Gomes. And Gomes looks at a strike. Off the end of the bat toward left field, Cespedes will make the catch. 2 complete from Progressive Field. It's the Tigers 1 and the Indians nothing. Our AT&T Uverse rewind as the Tigers lead the Indians 1-0 here going to the 3rd inning. Before the ball game, former Indian Cy Young Award winner Gaylord Perry threw out the ceremonial first pitch to the Tribe's latest Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber, and then Gaylord handed him his fine piece of hardware.
Yeah, how nice is that? Gaylord won it back in '72. Pretty cool. And it was funny because all of Kluber's teammates were outside the dugout on the warning track sitting there giving him a round of applause. They enjoyed it. The presentation.
Miguel Cabrera, an opposite field single into right field, his first time up.
Had surgery on that ankle in the offseason. You could see the front one, but you know, these guys didn't play. He and Victor Martinez with his knee problems till very late in the spring.
Brad Ausmus said he wasn't really concerned with Cabrera because he came back earlier before Martinez, and he said he had enough at bats. He looked fine. But he said Victor, he was pretty concerned with Martinez, and then all of a sudden, the last week of spring training, he just jumped right in there and hit like he's always hit his whole life.
Those 2 guys can fall out of bed and hit. They're so good. They really can. You know, some guys are born to hit, and those are 2 back-to-back guys in this lineup that can do that.
Now the 3-1 into the seats. McAllister's thrown a lot of strikes, 31 out of 46. He's given up quite a few base runners already. Payoff pitch. Slowly chopped up the middle, and it's through.
Wow, another base hit. That is now 7. for the Tigers, and this is only the third inning. He's strong enough that he can get ground balls through the infield like normal people cannot, but this is right up the middle, and you can see Ramirez thinking he's going to be able to have a chance to track it down. He could not do it. It gets past him, so they get a leadoff single. That's the second out of the 3 innings that they've been able to get their leadoff man aboard. But the one thing you don't worry with this guy is run. He can't run and take off like Ghost did back in the first.
Well, Victor Martinez blooped a single over to left field, just served it over that way his first time up. Takes ball 1 down in the dirt. Martinez, like his teammate Miguel Cabrera, has put up very impressive numbers against his old ball club, hitting .353 against the Tribe in 65 career games.
He got through last year, and what a year Victor had, because he was, remember, he was on that string where he wasn't striking out. He had what, I'm trying to think, he had so few strikeouts when we were seeing him, and this was into the middle part of the year where he had 18 or 19, and we were into June or whatever.
Yeah, he had
more homers than strikeouts, I think it was. I mean, that was going late into the year. There was, I mean, because we faced these guys 3 times throughout the course, 3 times here and 3 times in Detroit. There was a balk, timeout. What happened? Cabrera was running to second.
Last year, Victor struck out once every 15.2 plate appearances. That was the toughest in the American League.
Okay, that's what it was with Victor that I remember. He was the first player since Barry Bonds in '04 to hit 30 or more home runs and strike out 45 or fewer times in a season. But the time I was talking about, he had more homers than strikeouts. Most of the year he did. Yes, yeah. He had more homers than he did strikeouts.
Well, McAllister's got him in a 2-2 count with nobody out here in the third.
He needs a 2-for-1 ball.
Out of play.
And you can see when Victor gets to 2 strikes, he will really go and concentrate going the other way when he's locked in. You know, so you throw him anything on the outside part of the plate, he'll serve it that way. I say try and tie him up belt inside. You know, up the plate, he may swing through it, but you got to get it in there.
And that's out of play.
That's a good pitch. Now throw another one back in there again. I think that was the cutter. That wasn't the good fastball. And he's been working on that cutter this year, spring training, a new pitch he's trying to add in. It's a nice dimension. Get in there with a good hard heater. Don't let him get the hands out there, and let him do what he wants with the baseball.
It's a very difficult lineup to face, though, without something that you can really take him off of from a breaking ball standpoint.
There you go. He got up and away with that fastball.
Third strikeout for McAllister. 1 down here in the third.
Today's Circle K strikeout. The fastball up and away, running away from him, so it was a good pitch. He went inside with the cutter the pitch before. And then this one had some movement going away, and there you go. He wasn't sure where he was going. He might have been looking in again.
J.D. Martinez hit a line drive to third baseman Lonnie Chisenhall to end the first inning. That's fouled right back. high pop.
Watch what this wind does here.
Right fielder David Murphy moving the feet, stays with it and makes the catch. 2 down. Far from routine. Our great clip of the game from yesterday, Trevor Bauer. 6 hitless innings. He was fun to watch him compete. He was having trouble with his command early, but he never gave in. He just kept trying to grind his way through it. Next thing you know, gave you 6 really, really fun innings to watch.
He started out battling himself, but I'll tell you, he settled in and he was throwing some outstanding pitches. This is where McAllister has had a tough time in the first 2 innings. He has had to make 20 pitches to get through the first 2 innings after getting to 2 outs. They have really made him work hard to finish innings off.
Yoenis Cespedes, a grounder to short his first time up. Pop to right field. Murphy's got to hurry. He's coming hard. Can't get there.
Another blooper, man. They're killing him with the bloops.
His throw to third, not going to be in time as Miguel Cabrera goes in sliding.
Another hit. I mean, they're just placed them. They're
dinking and dunking.
Yeah, they really are. There's not much more you can say. How many balls have been hit in front of guys just barely finding some grass out there, and the big guys with the big swings are the ones that are doing it. So Zach has got to be saying, please catch it, but no siree. That one drops. Another single. That's 8 singles now for the Tigers. Keeps the inning going.
McAllister lets it fly and he's straightening him up. Castellanos started the trouble in the second inning with a little kind of a flare into left field. Didn't hit it hard. Outside corner. 95-mile-an-hour fastball for a strike. See, there's Zach's already at 60 pitches, so 20 pitches per inning so far for the right-hander.
Well, that's they've made him work to get through innings. When he gets the 2 outs, he just hasn't been able to put it away. They already have 5 hits out of their 8 with 2 outs.
Slowly chopped to short. Ramirez goes to second for the inning-ending force. So McAllister keeps bobbing and weaving, and it remains Detroit 1, Cleveland nothing. Middle of the third. Just a reminder to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Lots of sunshine, a little bit breezy, but otherwise fantastic for opening day here at Progressive Field.
I remember we were in Arizona talking, thinking, boy, let's hope it gets nice for opening day. Well, it turned out it's pretty nice. Maybe a little windy, but you'll take the sunshine. Not bad. Now you just need the Tribe to warm it up a little bit and score some runs.
Alfredo Simon nicks the outside corner for strike one. Indians have had their leadoff man aboard in the first 2 innings, but unable to cash in.
Yeah, they have been out in the field standing and fielding the balls for about 50 minutes out of the 1 hour this game is taken. They haven't spent a lot of time in the dugout or swinging the bats.
Downstairs. Murphy 2 out of 8 on the year. Right back up the middle. And the Indians have their leadoff man aboard for the 3rd straight inning. Time for our Buick stat of the game. And yesterday, with that performance by Bauer, 6 innings or less, no hits, 10 strikeouts. He and Bobby Witt, who did it against your old club in Milwaukee back in 1986. Now time for Lonnie Chisenhall, with Murphy aboard to start the home half of the 3rd. And on the grass at 3rd is Castellanos. And a pitch outside, ball 1. Murphy short lead at first, and Chisenhall right back to the screen. And the count 1-1. Lonnie checked down at 3rd with Mike Sarbaugh. You see Sandy Alomar Jr. coaching over at 1st, where Murphy takes his lead away. There's Sarby. The 1-1 into the seats. And now Chisenhall has to fight his way out of a 1-ball, 2-strike hole. Time called by Alex Avila, Tigers catcher. Not a real big lead for Murphy at 1st. And a foul right back. Time you can see Simon.
Well, he got something off. He got it. Yeah, he took a lot off. That was only like 78, and he got away with one. He left one upstairs. Lonnie put a great swing on it, but just fouled it off. He was looking in there saying, I better make sure I get that ball down.
Pitcher still in a little bit of sunlight. Everything else draped in shadows around home plate. Just outside, 2-2. You get a look at the way the field plays with the shadows in this late afternoon start.
It's not easy to hit there.
Same game time tomorrow between these two clubs before a traditional 1 o'clock Sunday day game series finale. 2-2 fouled back, out of play.
Good pitch to foul off. That was a good pitch by Simon that at least Chisenhall got a piece of to stay alive. But you know, once it goes through, it's coming out of the sunlight and getting into the shadows. And you can see that ball going away. It darkens up, and it's a lot tougher to pick up the spin once it gets into that shadow, at least right now. Maybe in another inning when that shadow's all covered the mound, it'll be a little easier.
Lonnie chases one up high. First strikeout for Simon, one down here in the second.
Well, live Indians baseball is back this year with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Download the MLB.com app, the #1 app for live baseball.
Jose Ramirez, his first at bat here today. And he slowly chops one to second. Kinsler goes to second. There's one. And no return throw as Iglesias had to just hang on to it. And there are two away. Turn it over to the top of the order, and Michael Bourne. Might not be a bad time for Ramirez if he feels that he can get a good jump to try and steal a bag here with Bourne at the plate. He's 2 for 2 on the year in steals.
Well, Michael Bourne tried one earlier when he was leading off this game. He got on with a base hit. He was thrown out by Avila, so Avila can throw you out. But with the situation, I agree with you. Two outs. And if you do get thrown out, you still have your leadoff man coming up the next inning. So it's worth a risk. Yes, I agree with you.
One thing we have seen with Ramirez, that he can definitely run well.
Well, that's what happens when he's not in the #2 hole, and you can put him down to the #9 spot. Speed down there, you know, and this is the situation you want to try it in. You know, I'm not saying you have to go every pitch. That's not what I mean. But in certain situations, you give Michael a chance, and they'll get to know it if he stays down there in the #9 hole. You pick and choose, but the earlier you go in a count is usually the better. So you get yourself in scoring position, and you give the hitter a chance to drive you home with less than 2 strikes.
Well, he's thrown over 3 straight times, so the Tigers are thinking right
Sure
along with us.
They know it. Osmus, he's a former catcher. He knows the situations and what you may try to do.
Ramirez
Deked.
Bluffed the move towards second. Took a couple of big strides that way. Bourne led off the game for the Tribe with a single. And
look at he's hiding behind Omar, giving his signs out to his catcher.
It's a 1-0 Detroit lead here in the bottom of the third.
You know, all this throwing over and things, fans get upset and they think the pitchers, it's all dictated by the manager on the bench on who's going to throw over.
Out of play. 1-on-1. And I know we were looking through some numbers, and it's not always a case where throwing over helps you out as a pitcher or a catcher.
Yeah, we were looking at the numbers yesterday. Last year, Justin Verlander threw over 129 times. Or was it more than that? He threw over more than anybody. There's a quick pitch out to keep him honest. And they still stole 76% of the time off of him compared to a guy that threw 0, which was John Lester last year. He didn't throw to first base, and it was 76% of the time. So does throwing over improve your chances of throwing out a base runner is the bottom line.
Ramirez has a big lead. He's going. Oh, he stopped. He jammed on the brakes again. He had a tremendous jump. Boy, if he'd have kept going, I think he had that stolen easily.
Yes, as a base runner, maybe he felt that, you know, he wasn't going to throw to the plate. But now you've waited this long, so it's sort of tough to take off. Right now, Michael's battling to just try and do something in this at bat with the 2 strikes in the count.
Two and a swing and a miss. No runs, a hit. Another man left. 3 complete.
1-0 Detroit.
KeyBank Kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Kids tickets are located in a new family deck here at Progressive Field. Just log on to Indians.com/kids tickets today.
Fourth inning. It's the Tigers 1 and the Indians 0, and Alex Avila going to lead off for Detroit. And Zach McAllister delivers down low, ball 1. McAllister's thrown at least 20 pitches in each of the first 3 innings. And it's not really a case that he's, been behind a lot of guys and he's thrown a ton of pitches. That way, it's just they've had a lot of foul balls. They've kept a lot of counts and at bats alive. And
and they dinked a few in.
They have 8 hits.
Yeah, that'll make you work.
Yeah, he has not issued a walk, though he is 3-0 to Avila here. He struck out 3. The 2 hardest hit balls in the game are probably both outs. The line drive that J.D. Martinez hit at Chisenhall to end the first, and the drive that Kinsler hit deep to center field to end the second. Now the 3-1. And McAllister coming right back, and a full count. Alex Avila was rung up his first time at the plate today. And now the 3-2 is ball 4. So McAllister has walked his first. And the Tigers have their leadoff man aboard for the 3rd time in 4 innings. Here's our T-Mobile game changer. In that first series of the year, the Indian starters were almost spotless. Only 2 earned runs allowed. Those came in the first game. But look at the strikeouts piled up. McAllister trying to follow suit here today, but he's having to work very hard. Charging in at 3rd. Chisenhall gloves the bunt, throws him out. And Avila moves into scoring position.
one out, we go to the top of the order, and Anthony Gose.
For Detroit, now batting, number 12, Anthony Gose.
Anthony Gose is already 2 for 2 in the game. He has a couple of singles and a run batted in. His single in the first inning actually glanced off the glove of McAllister and never left the infield. His single in the second inning was a broken bat job that dropped in front of David Murphy in right field. Those are a couple of hits that Gose will have to try and remember at some point this year when he hits a few blistering line drives right at somebody.
Well, you know, when you're going well, you look up at the scoreboard, and of course this season just started. He's at 615. He already has 8 hits in 13 at bats. So, you know, you hit streaks like that. It's nice if you get off to a start like that, but it certainly doesn't stay. And both times those hits that he had today could have been outs, but McAllister missed the ball, went off his glove, and then one fell in front of Murphy. But that's when you're going good.
2 balls and a strike. Swung out and missed. Good fastball from McAllister. 95 mile an hour, and he has been consistently mid, at times upper 90s with his heater
well,
today.
Zach's got to concentrate on getting the ball down. He's been upstairs a lot. You know, for a tall guy, when he comes around, a lot of times he spins off the ball. He's not throwing downhill, and he'll stay around belt high with a lot of his pitches.
Got him. Good pitching by McAllister. Came right back after he fell behind. And registers his 4th strikeout. That's 1 in every inning so far.
But
here
watch
today.
the movement on this ball, Matt. This one stays out of the plate, and it's off the plate. So Gose helps him out. That was a ball, but he got him to chase after it because it had very good movement on it.
Now Ian Kinsler with 2 down is 0 for 2 on the day.
There you go. There's one down. Here's his cut fastball right there. That's a great location. Down and away. You want to see more pitches down in that part of the zone.
Low, and nice job by Gomes to scoop it.
He tried to follow that cutter up that he had with strike 1, put a little more tilt on the slider, but Kinsler didn't chase after it.
Right back to the screen.
Well, out goes Gomes because he had a pretty good healthy cut at that pitch. You know, you've got Cabrera on deck, so maybe they just want to make sure they want to get on the same page. Let's get this man retirement. Let's go to hit.
Well, Ian Kinsler struck out on the first inning, fly to deep center to end the second. And with a runner in scoring position and 2 down here in the 4th, he takes the ball in the dirt to even the count now at 2-2. Alex Avila, who led off the inning with a walk, he was sacrificed to second by Iglesias. Now the 2-2. Right back up the middle. And it's backhanded by Kipnis, so he'll keep Avila from scoring.
That's okay. You kept it on the infield. That's your job. As an infielder, you knock it down if you're not going to be able to make a play. And even if Kipnis caught that ball cleanly, it's a good thing he didn't throw it. because a lot of times those runners will be circling the bases or continuing here. A nice stop. He had a tough time grabbing the ball. It fell out of the grasp, but it'll go as a base hit. But he saved a run right there. Just getting to that baseball. It goes as a base hit for Kinsler, and they'll bring up Cabrera. And Mickey Callaway wants to go have a talk.
But once again, it's the theme of the day for Zach McAllister. Another hit surrender on a ball that
2 outs.
How many hops did it take? You know, not a hard hit ball. I know they all count, but
they do.
It's been a little frustrating for him.
Yes, it has. I understand that. But 6 of his 9 hits have come with 2 outs for the Tigers. And not that they're hit hard, but I'll tell you, now you're getting into the tough part of this lineup. Cabrera, he stepped up. He's 2 for 2 today. He was down in the count the first at bat 0-2, worked it back in and got a base hit. And then this one, he's just strong enough to get it into center field. So hopefully now he hits it at one of your defenders, or if he puts it in play.
Indians get some action in the bullpen as Anthony Swarzak, right-hander, begins to loosen. First and third, 2 down. And a swing and a miss. There might have been that cut fastball that
it was.
We've seen at times today from McAllister. To center field, an RBI single for Miguel Cabrera. The beat goes on. He's a perfect 3 for 3 on the day. 2-0 Detroit. As Avila scores and Kinsler stops at second.
You are not going to get away throwing this guy up in the strike zone, because he can do anything he wants with the baseball. He is now 3 for 3, and watch this. Right there. That's, I mean, he gets on top of that ball and hits a line drive, and on the ball hit right on. He's too good of a hitter to pitch him there. So he gets their second run, another 2-out base hit, and that keeps the inning going for Victor Martinez.
That was a solid line drive, and now Victor Martinez, who's 1 for 2, stands in. In the dirt. Victor, a good piece of hitting his first time up when he took a ball to the opposite field for a single. And then in the third, something he didn't do a lot of last year, he struck out swinging. There's Swarzak getting loose. And it's in the hole. He beats the shift with an opposite field RBI single. 3-0 Detroit. Victor's second hit in the ball game, and the Tigers just keep piling on. That's their 11th hit now on the day.
Well, they just keep using the big part of the field. They're not trying to do too much. They're taking what they're given.
3 straight 2-out hits.
And there's a pitch away, and Martinez stays on it. He's not going to try and pull it. You can see the shift over there. And Ramirez can't get to it. He was playing up the middle. And I would think this is going to have to be the last hitter here for McAllister if he cannot get him, if he cannot retire him. 11 hits for the Tigers. All singles. The 1 walk. So they have had their share of base runners in every single inning.
Martinez takes its inside, ball 1.
They have had at least 3 base runners in 3 of the 4 innings, and they had 2 back in the 3rd inning. So Zach has been working from the stretch all day long.
That one almost to the backstop. Here's our Levin player profile. J.D. Martinez.
Boy, you want to talk about a signing for the Tigers.
Fell
after
right
last spring.
into their lap, didn't he?
Boy, I'll say, what a year he had last year, and how could Houston let a guy like this go?
2-0 pitch.
Boy, and fits into this lineup beautifully, as we witnessed all last year. Another, you talk about right-handed bats. This is one. And look at that's a boatload of pitches per inning for McAllister.
That'll even the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Tigers had 3 hits in the first inning, 3 in the second, 2 in the third, and now 3 consecutive 2-out hits here in the fourth. Cabrera takes off, and he steals third unmolested.
He wasn't paying attention to him. He took his eye off him and didn't even pay attention. So, you know, I know he's worried about the hitter, and Cabrera knows it because the infielders are back. But watch him. He just took off. He had about a 6 or 7 step lead, and McAllister never looked back again. This will be the last hitter here.
Throw it by him, strikes him out. 5 Ks for McAllister. But the Tigers tack on 2 here in the fourth, and they extend their lead to 3-0.
Come down and catch a game at the new 2-story bar with our $13 district ticket, which is presented by Sports Time Ohio. The new bar is the best place in town to grab a cold one, and with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. Visit Indians.com/district ticket for the details. And it's a packed house out there today.
This crowd looking to get into this ball game now.
Well,
Indians offensively have not been able to generate anything. Had their leadoff man aboard in all 3 innings, but just can't put anything together to this point. Still early.
Still early, but they've spent all their time out on the field.
Lined right back to Simon, who somehow caught it, or at least it caught him.
Thank you. He didn't even know it went in his glove, and he's very lucky it did, because he would have been smoked if he didn't catch that ball. As a hitter, when you hit a ball like that, you see it go right back up the middle. You're saying, oh, man, get in there. You got a base hit. But he puts a glove to it. This will be our Wendy's slow motion cam. Watch this ball coming right back at him. Base hit. Oh, it would have got him in the shoulder.
It was by him.
Yep, it would have got him in the shoulder for whatever reason. That glove, he threw it back there, and it caught him.
Now Michael Brantley flied to left in the first.
There's that little eephus pitch he throws every once in a while. He'll drop it in there just to take you off his other stuff. Back to back.
It just looks odd, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And Michael's too good of a hitter, but that's the kind of guy you throw it to. Maybe you'll get him to swing. He doesn't swing. He spits at it. That's after he had him strike one.
High fly ball, right field, routine for Martinez. 2 down. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pulaski.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Rick. Let's go to Chicago, where the Twins and White Sox both looking for their first win. And guess what? The Twins have scored a run. Top of the first inning, an RBI single by Joe Mauer, and that's been it thus far. 1-0 Minnesota, 5th inning in Chi-Town, Matt.
All right, thanks, Al.
Well, those boys will be next in after the Tigers. Off day Monday. The White Sox will come in for 2.
And Carlos Santana takes. It's a called strike. He tried to throw that slow pitch in there, and Santana was trying to. You could see, and he was kind of viciously bunt that thing up to third baseline. He might have had a double. One ball, 2 strikes. Got him looking. Inning over. Indians go 1-2-3, and we go to the 5th. 3-0 Detroit. In Ohio, Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. All right, Tigers with a 3-0 lead now as we roll on to the 5th inning. Yoenis Cespedes, Nick Castellanos, and Alex Avila. Zach McAllister on the hill with bullpen action behind him. Cespedes swings at the first pitch and drives it a long way to deep right field. Murphy back, can't make the catch. Short hops the wall. Into second is Cespedes, and he'll hold right there with a leadoff double. So he's 2 for 3. And the Tigers have had their leadoff man aboard in 4 out of 5 innings now today.
Well, the big man stayed back, and he drives this ball to right center field. We'll see the pitch. There's a fastball that comes back to the plate, and it was mid-thigh. And look at the strength. Cespedes stayed on that ball, drives it over the head of David Murphy in right field. He gets his second double of the year. They get their 12th hit. They have already a dozen hits in this game. That's the first extra base hit, though, for the Tigers.
Nick Castellanos 1 out of 2, singled and scored back in the second inning, and he takes low, ball 1. Now, because of the fact that they've had their leadoff man on all but 1 inning, and the only inning they didn't, the second guy reached. He's been out of the stretch all day long.
Yes, he has.
Not that that really matters. I mean, he pitched out of the stretch last year, and he came in as a relief pitcher. But he just has not. He's been on the defense from the get-go today. Runner goes. Driven to deep right field again. Murphy back, and watch this one leave. Nick Castellanos at opposite field, 2-run homer makes it a 5-0 Tigers lead. Castellanos stayed right on it, much like Cespedes did, only he was able to get a pitch
at third
and
time
he could drive out of here.
That's their 5 hits out of the 7 batters their third time through. You know, so they made the adjustment. They're using the big part of the field, even though they were getting base hits. Look at the right-handers going inside out. You know, there was nothing to take them off of that. The breaking balls weren't there today. It was a hard cutter. It was a fastball. How many changeups did you see? Primarily all fastballs, and this is a Detroit club that can hit them, so that's going to do it for McAllister today.
So the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen is for left-hander Kyle Crockett. He's coming on when we come back. Plus, and charged with 5 runs on 13 hits. He yields to left-hander Kyle Crockett, who worked a scoreless inning yesterday with a couple of strikeouts. Crockett will face Alex Avila. And the pitch is low, ball 1. Avila walked and scored back in the 4th. foul right back. Crockett, a 23-year-old from Virginia. Won 4 games out of the Indians bullpen last year, while posting an ERA of just 1.80. Avila takes, it's a strike, and the count is even at 2-2.
Yeah, I'm looking at this lineup card, and there are already 5 Tigers with at least 2 hits. Ghost, Cabrera, Martinez, Cespedes, Castellanos.
Not to mention, Rick, that we're in the 5th inning, and they will have already gone through the lineup 3 times.
Yeah, that's right.
Before this inning's over. Payoff pitch. And it's ball 4. Check out some of the new aspects of the ballpark and send it out to Andre Dot.
Well, Matt and Rick, we've talked all day long about all the new experiences here at Progressive Field. I tried to go to the corner bar and get that free drink that Rick's been telling us about since spring training, but I figured I'd try out the Kibbs Clubhouse to see exactly how that works out, since I sometimes have the maturity of a kid. Some of the cool stuff you can do is slide down and come out right here and continue along as you have fun here at Progressive Field. Great place for the kids. You even have a catcher's mitt right there for the kids, scoreboard, all kinds of great stuff here. They even have a booth, Matt, that you can go into and you can play Tom Hamilton, or you can play Matt Underwood, as you can do your own play-by-play. All of this and much more inside the kids' clubhouse here in Progressive Field. And I got to make sure my suit still fits after coming down that slide.
Maybe you got stuck.
I thought you were going to land into a puddle, Andre. Holy smokes.
You know, the nice thing, too, about that is that the way it's constructed, if you're the parent up in there, you can still see the game. I mean, they've got it set up so that your kids can run around, they can have all sorts of fun, but you still have access to the windows where you can watch the game action and you won't miss a pitch.
Do they have sitters up there when you can drop your kids off and go back to your seats?
No.
I'm kidding.
No, that we might have to check into. Jose Iglesias singled. First time up, sacrifice bunt. Last time up, chops it right at Chisenhall. He goes to second. There's one. Kiffins on to first. Double play. Well, when you play in at third, that's one of the things you take away the goofy hops sometime.
There
Iglesias, who has the ability to bunt.
That's exactly. You get a short hop right there, and it was turned nicely, and they get him at first base.
Chisenhall did a nice job to smother that short hop and start the double play, and they just did get Iglesias. And with 2 away, Anthony Gose, who is 2 for 3 on the day, takes inside for ball 1. Ghost batting for the 4th time today. Only 4 Indians players have been to the plate twice thus far. Now the 2-1. Got him looking. So Kyle Crockett comes in and does the job. But the Tigers put 2 more on the board by chasing McAllister from the game, and they lead it now 5-0. Upper deck in right field. With, retired numbers, pennants, and banners. Bottom of the 5th, Brandon Moss leading it off for Cleveland. They trail it 5-0. And Alfredo Simon with a first pitch strike. One ball, one strike. Moss hit into a double play back in the 2nd inning.
Came inside there with a good fastball to lock up Brandon Moss.
Now a 1-2. And that almost hit him in the foot, but he skips out of the way. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Moss trying to break loose.
See, this time now you've got Castellanos that's out in right field. Remember the last time they turned that double play, he was on the infield dirt because there was a man on first base.
2-2. Same pitch. He keeps firing it down and in at the feet of Moss, making him dance like a gunfighter in the Old West. Yeah, the other thing about the shift, though, that the Tigers are employing here is the fact that they're tight. They're close together. You don't see the second baseman, Kinsler, playing up more towards maybe where the umpires stand.
Right. That's Devil's Triangle right there.
They still give him a pretty good, sizable.
They don't think he's going to hit it up the middle.
No, they don't. Almost hit the bag, and it's just foul. Now the Indians have been held to just 2 hits. A couple of leadoff singles. One by Michael Bourne, one by David Murphy. Moss sends a high drive deep left field. Back is Cespedes. And he makes a basket catch in front of the warning track. Again, Just an indication of how strong that wind is blowing in from left field. Cespedes, I think he figured he was going to have to get onto the track. He had to slam on the brakes.
I'm telling you, that ball was just knocked down. That ball was hammered. And he took an eye and he had to stop. And it got to the warning track. That ball was knocked down by that wind. You got to look, and that's deflating as an offensive player. In the wind like today, you hit a ball that well, you think, okay, maybe it's off the wall. It didn't even get to the wall because of today's wind factor. And Cespedes had to stop to catch it. He hit it well.
Here's Yan Gomes, who flied to left his first time up, now lines it out to third. 2 away.
Ball was off the end of the bat. But Castellanos able to reach out and make the catch for out number 2.
And it brings up David Murphy. He's one of the Indians' 2 hits on the day. Floats one outside, does Simon. 1-1 to count. Toronto beat up Baltimore earlier today, 12-5 at Camden Yards. Full foul. Thirty-seven of the 58 pitches for Simon have been strikes. Took off on him. His pitch. He hasn't thrown, I don't think, one of those for a strike
no,
yet, has he?
Hasn't. No, just maybe to take him off everything else. Most pitches in an inning for Simon, 17. Where on the other end of the stick for McAllister, it was total opposite. It was 20 or more in every inning for him.
And David Murphy draws a walk. That snaps a string of 8 straight set down by Simon. And a 2-out base runner now for Lonnie Chisenhall.
Well, the new Tribe Town MVP's Kids Club is designed for the Tribe fans between ages 6 and 14. And the MVPs take part in exclusive events and receive cool gear to add to their collection. Just visit Indians.com/TribeTownMVPs for more information.
Now Lonnie Chisenhall struck out his only time up back in the 3rd. It's away from Avila. Down to second goes Murphy. A wild pitch puts a runner in scoring position for the first time today for Cleveland.
He's throwing a number of balls in the left-handers down at their feet.
Indians need something
They
positive
need a spark.
to happen.
It'd be nice to have one quick jolt, hit a 2-run homer, get this crowd into it, give them something to cheer about. They're waiting for it. No question about it. It's been all Detroit to this point.
Out of play.
Only in the 5th inning. It's a 5-run game. You want to try and get into that Detroit bullpen if you can. Right now, the Indians have to hold the Tigers to zip the rest of the way until that offense can find a way to get on the board and go.
And a slowly chopped ball to first. The flip to Simon, and the inning is over. 5 complete from Progressive Field. It's the Tigers 5 and the Indians nothing.
Well, Wednesday, an epic international showdown when the United States men's national team takes on Mexico at the sold-out Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Coverage begins Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Anthony Swarzak coming on now to make his Cleveland Indians debut.
Yeah, that was with Minnesota Twins last year. Swarzak pretty much out of the bullpen, can make a spot start for you, go multiple innings. He's been a veteran, appeared in 50 games, 4 starts. I know one of them came against the Indians last year where he ended up getting his first win in after what, 70-some relief appearances.
Well, since 2012, he is second among all major league relievers in innings pitched. So 237 1/3.
Well, and that's what the pen now has to do. Fall behind early. Tigers with 4 runs in the last 2 innings. You got to keep them to 0 the rest of the way and hope you can get back into this.
Fly ball, shallow, near the line. Brantley moving over, makes the catch, 1 away. Our in-game recap is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Anthony Gose in the second inning, a broken bat RBI single, made it 1-0 Detroit. Then in the third, or I should say, then it was Victor Martinez in the fourth who made it 3-0 with an RBI single. And the 2-run homer by Castellanos made it 5-0. Almost an instant replay. Over near the line. Brantley's there again. 2 down. Cabrera retired for the first time here today. It'll bring up Victor Martinez, who has 2 singles and a run batted in. You know, Rick, we talked about the fact that the Indians last year had 4 pitchers make 70 or more appearances out of the bullpen, and yet none of those guys pitched 70 innings.
Right.
Anthony Swarzak, on the other hand, in the last 3 seasons has not made more than 50 appearances, and yet he's been at 96 2/3, 96 and 86 innings pitched.
He's been the workhorse coming out of the bullpen and having to eat up a lot of innings for that Minnesota staff.
I mean, even if you took the 9 spot starts that he made over those 3 years, took those innings away, it's still a lot of innings.
Yes, it is. Well, it takes its toll on you too.
Now the 1-1. Not the way those 2 guys wanted to see this one unfold, at least to this point. Indians down 5-0. They've been out hit 13-2. Well, Victor Martinez suffered a knee injury in the offseason. Actually, not too far, not too long before spring training started, but able to get back in time to start the year and off to a good start.
Oh, he wanted that one. He thought it was a really good pitch on the inside corner, and that, you know, Victor is on the plate. And let's see if that thing cuts in off the plate. That had plate. That was a pretty darn good pitch. The only thing had to be called high. It had the plate.
Right back up the middle and through. So Martinez has his third hit of the day. You know, there was a lot of talk at the end of last year. What would the Tigers do? Would they ante up to keep Victor Martinez around? You bet they did.
Well, that's protection for the guy in front of him, and that's a 1-2 punch. It's tough to beat. And he didn't get that pitch the pitch before that, but he gets the next one and goes right back up the middle with it for another base hit. That's 14 now.
Now J.D. Martinez 0 for 3 on the day, and he pops one up left field. Michael Brantley over, gives way to Bourne, and the inning is over. Middle of the 6th. Detroit 5, Cleveland nothing. Tigers with a 5-0 lead. Bottom of the 6th inning. Jose Ramirez to lead off for the Tribe. And Alfredo Simon delivers the first pitch strike.
Boy, Simon has mixed it up. He has kept the Indians hitters off stride. They haven't hit many balls on the nose.
Loop toward left center, but it's going to hang up for Ghost. One away. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Let's go back to opening day back in 2007. Who will ever forget this incredible scene with the snow flying? Mike Hargrove, then the manager of the Mariners, came out and said, our guys can't see.
Oh, I remember that. That was unbelievable.
Eventually the game was called. Paul Bird was in the middle of throwing a no-hitter.
What were we, 1 out away from getting it in?
I think so.
1 out away, and then we ended up having to make up the rest of that series for 6 months.
But as Michael Bourne lines one toward left field, that's going to drop for a base hit, his second of the game. 1 on 1 out here in the 6th. thing I remember is the next series against the Angels was moved to Milwaukee. We had to go to Milwaukee to play the next series.
That's right. Boy, that was 2007. What was that? 8 years ago?
Doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, 8 years ago.
Jason Kipnis had a line drive right back at the pitcher his last time up, and Simon somehow just reached behind him and caught it. Ball was by him. Inside ball one. Outside corner.
You're right. That ball he hit right back up the middle. Watch him come back. That was smoke. He was putting that glove up for self-defense, and it ends up going in, and he makes the catch, taking Kipnis from a hit, and that was leading off the 4th inning. There you go.
That's going to get through. Bourne will go to third. Jason Kipnis has his first hit of the afternoon, and the Indians have back-to-back base runners for the first time all day. Maybe they've got the start that they need to get back in this ball game.
Well, again, Detroit has been finding the holes and digging them in all day. It was a good pitch by Simon. Kipnis gets enough of it, but hits it in the right spot. Between first and second, a man on first base sends Bourne to third. So now the Indians with an opportunity to get on the board for the first time this afternoon in a situation like this. First and third, just one out, and you've got Michael Brantley to the dish.
Now Michael Brantley trying to get this game going. It's a fair ball down the left field line, headed for the corner. Bourne scores. Kipnis on his way to third. He's in there safely. It's an RBI double for Michael Brantley, and that wakes him up here at Progressive Field.
Well, the guy that was so good with the Indians last year with runners in scoring position, what a nice at-bat, staying on the ball. He wasn't going to roll over on anything, and this one just caught chalk, I believe, Matt, going down the line. It's a fastball up and out over the plate, and he stayed on it beautifully. So he gets that double as it rolls down into that corner. Look at it, just inside. The umpire's got to get out of the way. Fair ball. In comes Bourne. He scores the Indians' first run as it goes off the tarp. Second and third, and you really have to take advantage because now you're on the board. You get these two in, and you got a new ball game.
Carlos Santana steps in. He walked in the second. Out on strikes his last time up. And Simon drops one in for a strike. Tigers get activity in their bullpen for the first time today. Lefty and a righty up throwing.
You can see in a situation, Simon knowing look, Santana probably looking for something hard, really just a get me over breaking ball for strike one at 74 miles per hour.
Santana with a line drive, base hit into right field. Now score Kipnis. Brantley stops at third. 4 straight hits here in the 6th inning for Cleveland, and they've climbed to within 5-2.
Guess what? Crowd's into it, and we've got a game now. Yes, indeed. This is the first time they've been able to string anything together all day long, and there's another pitch up in the zone. Santana stayed back nicely. Hit a line drive into right field. Brantley started and then hesitated. Wasn't sure. You got to make sure the ball drops. He can only go up one base. Kipnis scores. So here come the Indians.
Detroit pitching coach Jeff Jones went out for a visit. Give that bullpen a little bit of extra time to loosen up. Right-hander Al Albuquerque. Left-hander Ian Kroll. The batter is Brandon Moss. Moss 0 for 2 today. Looking for that first hit as an Indian. This sellout opening day crowd starting to rock a little bit here as they sense perhaps a big turn in the ballgame. Moss with a base hit into right field. Brantley scores. Santana stops at second. Welcome to the Tribe, Brandon Moss. 5 straight hits here in the 6th. And it's a 5-3 ball game, and the tying run is now at first.
I don't think he could have picked a better time to get your first hit as an Indian than right there to keep the rally going. It is a 5-3 ball game. Another pitch up in the zone. Moss kept his hands back, and they didn't have the shift this time, and he ends up getting it over there and getting it into right field. And Simon's day is coming to an end.
He had given up just 2 hits and was pitching shutout baseball here with 1 out in the 6th inning when the Indians finally jumped him. 5 straight hits. They send him to the showers. We've got a timeout and a brand new ball game. Well, Brandon Moss delivering his first hit as an Indian, driving in a run and making it a 5-3 ball game here in the 6th. And our Yellowwood bringing the lumber now. Shows the Indians getting after it here in this 6th inning. 5 consecutive hits after they had just 2 through the first 5 innings. What happened?
Well, I'll tell you what, they got aggressive on Simon is what they did, because the 3rd time through the lineup off him, they were 5 for 5 on 9 pitches. You know, they didn't mess around. They didn't wait around. They got after it. He was going to try and get ahead. The Indians hitter said, okay, now it's our turn. They took advantage. The first 2 times through the lineup, they were 2 for 16.
Well, now Al Albuquerque coming in. Indians are very familiar with him. He's a hard-throwing right-hander, but he can have some issues throwing strikes at times.
Got a very good slider, and we will see him a boatload this year. There it is right there, coming right out of the chute. It's a hard, tight breaking slider. He throws into the mid-90s, and as you say, at times he can have control issues. It's something they can really count on over there, because this is a bullpen now that doesn't really have a closer.
Last year he balked in the winning run in a game against the Tribe here at Progressive Field. 0-1. Gomes takes a little bit high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, the crowd now at least has something to cheer about. They're on their feet. They like what they're seeing now, back into the game with a 3 spot here in the 6th.
Gomes flied to left in the 2nd, hit a line drive out in the 5th at the 3rd baseman Castellanos. Off the end of the bat. And he's in the hole 1-2.
And off the end, or off the hand of Avila. Look at him shaking it back there. That got knuckles. You okay? He always says, yes, I'm okay. He's going to take a little more time and go talk to Albuquerque, and that's just for the hand.
Ian Kroll, the left-hander, He's been getting loose for a while. They'll probably be coming in next. You got David Murphy, then Lonnie Chisnall, back-to-back left-handers. This was the balk-off. Remember this one?
Watch him start. There it was. And stop. Man on third base. The Indians win on a balk-off.
Whatever it takes. And the 1-2 is fouled up the third base side. If you missed it, the Indians added Jerry Sands to the roster before the ball game. So another right-handed bat on the bench right now for Terry Francona. First and second, one out, tried down two. 1-2 pitch. Straighten him up.
Yeah, back him off. He tried to throw a fastball to him last time inside, and Gomes had a pretty good swing, and I think he wants to eventually get back to that slider away.
The 2-2. Just a bit high.
Yeah, you know what? Everything I think, even though they're close today, I think it's upstairs. I mean, he's not giving the high strike. Oh, that's high. Yeah, that's high. No question about it.
Well, this sold-out house now up on its feet, starting to roar as Yan Gomes tries to deliver. 3-2 pitch coming. Slowly chopped to third. Castellanos goes to second. There's one on the first. Double play. The Tigers turn two to get out of the jam. Indians get on the board with 3, and they cut it to a 5-3 ball game through 6 innings. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T UVerse, has more channels on the go than cable. It's a 5-3 Detroit lead as we go now to the 7th inning. And for the Tigers, Cespedes, Castellanos, and Avila coming up. Anthony Swarzak, who pitched a scoreless 6th inning, will stay on to work here in the 7th. Tribe bullpen has activity, as do the Tigers in theirs. Cespedes lays down a bunt and
what
a great
beauty.
one.
Let it go. Will it roll foul?
Yes.
Wow, with a lot of spin on that one. That was actually a beautiful butt. That hit 10 feet fair on the grass. But when you get the barrel head of that bat out, you're going to see the spin it has, and watch the roll. That hit 10 feet fair. And now look at it. You talk about that's like a pool shot. And it just, nothing you could do. If it stops, it's an automatic hit. It was an excellent bunt, but spins foul. Break for the Indians. You don't see it catch that much grass and spin foul.
Cespedes not a guy you expect to lay down a bunt either.
No, but it's really a pretty good idea. You just come back, you get 3, you make it a 2-run game. That was his chance. You won't see him do it again probably for another 3 months.
Well, he's in the hole 0-2. Swarzak, a little breaking ball, line to left and a base hit.
I mean, you 0-2 pitch and he just reaches out and hits it into left field. So mission accomplished for Cespedes.
Third Tigers hitter with 3 hits in the ball game.
He got a slider, and you look at him. He was full, kept his hands back, and that was really a pretty darn good pitch. But that's even better hitting by Cespedes. Look at Swarzak. He can't believe it. 0-2. He wanted to go off the dish, but the guy kept the hands back and hit it nicely.
Now Castellanos bidding for a 3-hit game as well steps in. He singled and scored in the second, and he hit what right now is the difference in the ball game, a 2-run homer in the 5th.
You know, you look up at the scoreboard in this game, they could have 8 or 9 runs on the board easily. They have 5 because they have 15 hits. They've left 9 runners stranded to this point. But the Indians came back and they're right in the ball game.
Yeah, the Tigers left 2 on in each of the first 4 innings today. High drive, left field. Brantley back, giving way to Bourne. And now the center fielder makes the catch.
Easily.
Good tagging, trying to get to second. He gets there as Cespedes.
I'll tell you what, that's just flat out good hustle.
I think when he saw Bourne having to catch that ball flat-footed.
Yes. You know, in the wind today, it's difficult enough. When you're an outfielder, you know how tough it is out there. That's a heads-up play to come back to first base, and it's your judgment as a base runner to tag and go. And when you see the guy backpedaling, go right ahead because it makes you make a perfect throw.
All right, after Castellanos flies out, Terry Francona will go back to his bullpen with the left-handed hitting Alex Avila coming up to the plate.
A really aggressive play here by Yoenis Cespedes. They have a 2-run lead. He was the leadoff man, and he says, okay, I'm going to go back. Bourne's going back away from second base. I'm going to make him make a good throw. That's just very good hustle to get himself in scoring position on the out.
Now Mark Zipchinski coming on to face Alex Avila. Avila 0 for 1 with a strikeout, but he's walked his last 2 times up. Zipchinski threw 1 pitch to get those 2/3 of a scoreless inning against Houston. Got a double play ball. A little bit low for ball 1. And there's a strike. That'll even the count at 1-1. Zipchinski, another guy who very reliable a year ago, 73 appearances. Swung on and missed in the count 1-2. The crazy thing about Zipchinski's year, 73 appearances, but in all of that, 46 innings of work.
Yeah, I mean, he came out, what'd you say, 23 times last year. He faced 1 hitter, got him out in an inning over.
Yep. Yeah, that was tied for the most in all of baseball as far as one and done.
And that's why your manager calls on you so many times to get that out he's looking for.
1-2.
There's the
Gotta
first
be
one.
hung on to it. A foul tip held on by Gomes. Zipchinski gets the strikeout. 2 down here in the inning.
Comes right back. He got him to foul tip it, but it goes right into the glove of Gomes. It's an excellent pitch. Down below the knees and going away. It looked like it had a little run to it. And he swings through it. Out number 2.
Right-handed hitting Jose Iglesias with the left-handed hitting Anthony Gose on deck. Low ball 1. Iglesias had a base hit in the 2nd inning. Sacrifice bunt in the 4th and then bounced into a double play in the 5th. And Zipchinski throwing darts. Evens the count of 1-1. One pitch.
Good.
Oh, perfect placement.
Ball looked like a little comeback. I mean, over the outside corner. I don't know if that was a cutter or not, but it looked away and it comes in right at the end. Little slider away. Ooh, got the call.
Now the 1-2. Gets away from Gomes and down to 3rd goes Cespedes. This one was off the plate.
Yeah. It went to the backhand side. Yeah, he had to really get out there. Almost looked like a hockey goalie to save it. Oh, a wild pitch that sends Cespedes to 3rd. I saw Zipchinski come in and ask the umpire, what's the count? He wanted to make sure 2-2 man on 3rd base. As you mentioned, you got the left-hander on deck, so he's going to be careful here.
The pitch. Right back up the middle and hit off of Zipchinski, and the Tigers get yet another run on a ball that doesn't leave the infield.
That's been that kind of day for the Tigers. Everything they've hit has seemed to find a hole. A couple balls off the gloves, a couple on the infield, a couple that stayed in front of the outfielders. It's that backdoor breaking ball, and it goes off the foot of Zipchinski, but to nowhere. Nobody could field it, so the wild pitch certainly pays dividends for the Tigers. They're able to come back and answer that 3-run bottom half of the inning by the Indians, and they make it a 6-3 game now.
Tigers now 5 for 9 with a runner in scoring position and 2 out. Well, the aggressive base running by Cespedes set that up.
Yes, it certainly did. Tagging up at first, going to second base on the fly ball. Wild pitch gets him into scoring position, and then an infield single scores him.
Bunt fouled back out of play.
That's a big run right there, too.
Well, the fact that they answer back.
Uh-huh.
Anthony Gose, a couple of hits his first time up, struck out his last 2 times to the plate. Slowly chopped back toward the mound. Zipchinski has this one, throws it down the right field line. Murphy trying to cut it off, but before he does, Iglesias will come all the way around and score from first base. And it's now 7-3 Detroit.
Well, it'll be the first error of the year for the Indians, and it's on the pitcher that, my goodness, it wouldn't get any easier than this. He just throws it into right field. Watch him. He gets the ball quickly and just fires it. I mean, he wanted to let that. He was probably too close to first base. I don't know. That's hard to explain, but he throws it down the right field line. Iglesias comes to score the second run, and out comes Francona.
So we've got a timeout. Tigers with 2 here in the 7th to extend their lead to 7-3. Brian Shaw is coming on for Cleveland. Is in high gear starting tomorrow afternoon with the Yankees taking on the Red Sox at 12:30 on Fox Sports 1. Tribe hosts the Tigers at 3:30 here on Sports Time Ohio. And at 9 on Fox Sports 1, it's a playoff rematch when the Royals take on the Angels. Brian Shaw coming on now for Cleveland. They'll face Ian Kinsler, who is 1 for 4 in the ballgame. Anthony Ghost, the runner at third, as Kinsler looked to bunt, and Ghost has to dive back into third as he was charging down the line.
He came down an awful long way, and I think Chisenhall was back, so he couldn't go to third base to really cover. Gomes wanted to throw back on him.
Missed outside, and it's 2-0. Ian Kinsler now in his second year with the Tigers. Came over from Texas in the Prince Fielder trade. Fielder now back on the field with the Rangers. And now Kinsler sends one to deep right field. Murphy sprinting over, can't get to it. That'll go to the fence. Ghost scores. Kinsler on his way to third, and he'll go in with an RBI triple. 3-run seventh for Detroit. Boy, they answered back in a big way.
Well, that really took the starch and the steam right out of them. That ball slicing away from Murphy, and Kinsler, normally a pull hitter, you don't see him go that way a whole lot, but that was a cutter away, and it gets past Murphy on the outstretched arm, and that wind pushing it away, and when he gets to the wall, he's just going to turn his head down and go all the way for 3. It'll be the first triple for the Tigers today. It'll be their 17th hit. 7 guys in the lineup with at least 2 hits.
Here's Miguel Cabrera, and he pops it foul out of play. Miguel Cabrera has 3 hits. Cabrera, Victor Martinez, and Yoenis Cespedes each with 3 knocks in the game.
Detroit this afternoon 11 for 18 with 2 outs. That has been their calling card today. Tough to get out of an inning. Started with Zach McAllister this afternoon. He had a tough time getting a third out of an inning, throwing a lot of pitches, and it's just continued all day long.
Fouled off the foot of Cabrera. Well, it's just kind of the way the game has gone. But this should have been, at least it looked like it was going to be, maybe a routine, fairly routine inning when Zipchinski was in there, got a little comebacker, but it clipped off of his foot, and it went for an infield RBI single, and it unraveled from there. Kinsler at third with 2 down. Cabrera chases one in the dirt, strikes out to end the inning. Tigers get 3 back, and they lead it 8-3 as we've reached the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World.
Enjoy Indians baseball all summer long with the mini plan starting at just $109. Each plan includes 6 Friday, Saturday, or Sunday games available for your 4 locations here at Progressive Field. Visit Indians.com/mini plans and get your plan today.
Blaine Hardy now in the ballgame for Detroit. Left-hander. Indians go to their bench for a couple of pinch hitters. Mike Aviles at the plate. Ryan Rayburn to the on-deck circle. Pitches up high, ball 1. It was kind of weird to see Phil Koch in a different uniform.
Yeah,
warming up for the Cubs the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, how many times did he pitch against us in the past?
There weren't many games he didn't.
Right.
Let's put it that way. Blaine Hardy pitched in 38 games over a couple of stints last year with Detroit. 3-1 the count for Aviles. And Mike pops the 3-1 pitch up sky high left center. Cespedes, the left fielder, makes the catch, 1 away. Let's go down to Andre.
You know, Blaine Hardy was called up basically for this series to be the 3rd left-handed pitcher out of the bullpen for the Tigers. Now, guys, they called him up for this series, but the Tribe did have success against him last year as they were 6 of 19 versus Hardy in the 2014 season. Hopefully they can keep that up this season.
I think you're going to see a few teams like with Cleveland coming to town with an opportunity if they can move somebody in that bullpen or get an extra left-hander. They may do that. After today, we told you earlier they're going to see 4 consecutive left-handers with the last 2 games in this series against the Tigers, and then the only 2 against the White Sox. There's 2 lefties scheduled to pitch. Tomorrow it'll be Kluber against David Price.
Ryan Rayburn with a fly ball to deep center field. Back is Anthony Gose. 2 down. Time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Well, man, it looks like the Minnesota Twins are on the verge of their first win of the season. Here, Brian Dozier in the 8th inning hits a solo home run to make it 3-0 in favor of Minnesota. They move to the 9th inning now in Chicago. It's 3-0 Twins, looking for that first win. Matt?
All right, thanks, Al. Here's Jose Ramirez, 0 for 2. Takes a strike. You know, the other thing with Detroit with regards to their bullpen, Rick, Joe Nathan just 2 days ago was put on the DL.
Right.
Bruce Rondon was put on the DL April 1st, so they've had to shuffle some pieces around. Ramirez chases one downstairs. It's 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Count even up for Jose Ramirez. Indians fought back with 3 in the bottom of the 6th to close the gap to 5-3. But Detroit puts up 3 in the top half of this inning to restore their 5-run lead. And then Blaine Hardy works a 1-2-3 bottom of the 7th. We'll head to the 8th. 8-3 Detroit. retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians.
Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Here in the 8th inning, Scott Atchison coming on out of pitch for the Tribe. Already making his 3rd appearance, and this is the 4th game of the season. Defensively now, Mike Aviles takes over at 3rd base. And the new right fielder is Ryan Rayburn. Victor Martinez looking for his 4th hit of the game. Takes a strike. Victor 3 for 4, 3 singles. His RBI came back in the 4th.
Yeah, they came into this game in the first 3 games hitting .343 as a team, and with 17 hits, that's certainly going to go up.
In off the plate, and it's 2-1. 8 runs, 17 hits for Detroit, and they've left 10 men on base. 3 runs, 7 hits for Cleveland. They've stranded 3. Out of play to the left. Into the teeth of the shift, and from the outfield grass, Kipnis can take his time. 1 away. In-game box score is brought to you by Hyundai. A lot of hits, a lot of numbers for the Tigers.
Yeah, a lot of crooked numbers up there. Avila, J.D. Martinez, the only 2 without hits. Everybody else double digits, or double figures, 2 hits at least.
J.D. Martinez fouls one out of play.
J.D. is a guy that had a really good year against the Indians last year with the long ball.
Today is one of those days where, at least up to this point, the team might just sidle up to him and say, well, hey, somebody's got to make the outs.
Yeah, that's true when you have one of those days. Well, it's one of those. Hey, Detroit has hit the ball. They've hit it, hard. They hit it. They found the right holes. Everything they did went right. It's one of those days. There's not much you can do about it. They hit it where the defense wasn't, but that is because of execution, pitching wise. Zach McAllister really, he struggled. I mean, but they put the ball in play. He was upstairs a lot. Not many off-speed pitches for strikes to take the Tiger hitters off of what they're trying to do. Another 4 o'clock afternoon game tomorrow. Good matchup, though, too.
Jose Ramirez gobbles that up. And J.D. Martinez is 0 for 5. Well, you're right, Rick. Tomorrow you're talking about the Cy Young Award winner, Corey Kluber.
And a guy that could have won it.
Price, who's a very tough left-hander. And it's a 4 o'clock start time if you plan on making it down here to the ballpark. If not, we'll have it for you right here on Sports Time Ohio once again, with Indians Live beginning at 3:30.
And if it's anything like today, where we saw the sunshine early, but you remember the shadows coming across with those 2 guys on the mound, may be difficult for the hitters.
Well, we all know here in northeastern Ohio that the forecast can change minute to minute. But when I got up this morning, it said sunshine tomorrow, so we might be looking at another one of those.
I'm all for it.
Shadows could play a role early. Cespedes grounded out his first time up. Then he went single, double, single with a couple of runs scored.
Well, and actually in that inning in the 7th, he's the one that turned it around because he tried to bunt and the ball went foul. Then he fell behind 0-2 and got a very good base hit 0-2 because the ball was way off Swarzak. He tagged up on a fly ball. Castellanos to center field, ended up getting himself into scoring position, and then with the 2-out single by Iglesias off the foot of Zipchinski, that started that inning where they came back and got 3 runs, or it should have been a 5-3 game at that time. And the Indians were in it, and they took them right back out of it in the top half of the inning, and it started by this guy.
Ramirez again makes the play, and the Tigers, for the first time today, are retired in order. Eight-3 Tigers. As we go to the bottom of the 8th, time running out for the Indians. Top of the order, Michael Bourne. Singled and scored his last time up. He has 2 hits on the day. Pitch outside for ball 1.
Look at this defensive alignment with Cespedes, where he's playing in left field, and Ghost, where he's way over in left center and deep.
They don't want any slap hits.
Well, they're going to take that slap hit away, and if he does drive it to left center field, Ghost is going to have to go get it. There you go. Look where he's playing. Now you think how he led the game off the other day in Houston with that double off the wall. Give us another one of those, it'd be at least a double.
There is the first strike of the at-bat from Blaine Hardy. And he doubles up on almost identical pitches, full count. Ball 4, and the Indians get the leadoff man aboard.
Well, the best place in town to grab a cold one and catch the games is at the District, the new 2-story bar here at Progressive Field with the $13 District ticket. It is presented by Sports Time Ohio. Your first drink is on us. Come on out and have a good time. And it's been packed all day long, and from what we understand, it's a great place to go. Kids out there, younger people, love it.
I realize Detroit has a 5-run lead, but nothing will drive a manager crazier than a leadoff walk in this situation.
That's true.
And immediately,
well, you give base
bullpen
runners.
is up for Detroit.
Yeah, you want to make them earn their way on, especially lefty on lefty. Make him hit his way on. If he does, that's one thing. Okay, all right, you give up a base hit. At least you're being aggressive going at him. Don't give up anything.
Jason Kipnis singled and scored in the 6th.
Yeah, they had 5 straight hits back in the 6th inning.
And he rips one down the left field line. Foul. Maybe that had a chance to get him rolling. But the inside out approach just faded off into foul territory.
You can see where it starts, boy. It starts way in fair territory, but the inside out swing. What do we got? Ditka over there? He didn't move real fast.
Ditka got his hip replaced. He's good to go. He can run some down and outs for you.
Looks like he's not ready to move over there. He's stuck on that stool. Ditka wasn't ready. He did, huh? You talked to him today?
Yeah, the 0-2. A little bit low.
There he is.
Just like the real Ditka.
Oh, we'll hear from him. Oh, be careful. He'll come up and start pointing fingers at us tomorrow because we had him up on television.
He didn't
Welcome
have to
back.
move.
It's nice to see you, Ditka.
1-2. Just off the plate, Kipnis. Good patience here. Gets himself back to even in the count. Kipnis with Brantley to follow here in the home half of the 8th. Bourne aboard at first to start the inning. A foul right back out of play. Jabba Chamberlain, right-hander. Ian Kroll, who was up earlier, getting loose from the left side. Blaine Hardy with a 2-2. Popped him up. Left side of the infield. Castellanos on away. Now Michael Brantley will take his turn at bat. Doubled in a run and scored in the 6th. Hardy's thrown 24 pitches, 12 balls, 12 strikes. Retired the side in order in the 7th inning before the leadoff walk to Bourne here in the 8th. Turned away, but it's in for a called strike. And the count evens 1-1. Brantley sends one to left field. Cespedes had him played right over near the line and makes the catch in foul ground. 2 away. Watch the defensive setup, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, he's right over there on the line, and he knows, Michael, if he stays on the left-hander, he's just, it's the only way it's going to go. It's going to slice away from you. It was a foul ball, but he was able to get there in time and make the play.
So 2 down now for Carlos Santana. Spun out of the way. Here's a high fly ball. Deep center field. Goes back on the track at the wall. Leaps up. Can't make the play. Coming around third. Michael Bourne is going to score. Into second base with a 2-out RBI double is Carlos Santana. He's driven in 2 in the game for Cleveland. And now 5 on the year.
Didn't see where that ball hit. It came close. I thought the wind was going to knock it down, Matt, but it stayed up there, and it was awfully close. Hard to tell. I looked at the first base umpire. Dale Scott said no, it didn't go out. I didn't see it hit anywhere, but it was a high changeup that Santana drives to left center field. Ghost goes back, and it's well above him, and you see it come straight down, and Francona is going to go out. He may want to take a look at it. I couldn't tell. I didn't see it hit. I was watching, and I lost the ball on my clear set, but he's looking over here, and Dale Scott's the one that made the call. Now, let's see if we can get a look at it. That might be.
The fan reached over and hit it
that
first.
Could be, because that fan reached out. Yeah, it did. It hit his hand. It hit his hand. Now, was he reaching over the line? That's the thing. He may have been reaching over the line and hit it. And it might have been over that yellow line with fan interference. They may just keep this as a double. I mean, it's hard to tell from that angle. It looked like it hit him in the hand, though. You know, everybody's talking about what they see. Let's take another look at it. Watch the guy in the red shirt. It looks like it hit him in the forearm. Then it hit him in the forearm, I think, on that shot. Yeah, it did. That might be a home run. It looked like it hit him in the forearm.
Well, they're going to have to take a few looks at this one, I'm sure. Although it looks like they're wrapping things up, doesn't it? No, going back onto the headsets.
Everybody's looking for replays on the scoreboard, and it's under review, but we will see. That guy in the red shirt, it got him in the air. I'm just not sure where and how they can tell if it was over that yellow line. Home run, maybe. Who knows? We'll see. Well, if not, it's still going to remain a double, and there will be at least one run in with Santana at second base.
Well, they're definitely taking a long look back in New York at replay command on the ball that Carlos Santana hit. It appeared to hit a fan whose arm was above the yellow line, and then it glanced off the fan's arm and hit the railing, which is clearly above the yellow line.
Okay, they look like they've come to a conclusion.
Fan interference.
Double.
There you go.
Yeah, so they felt that his hand was over the yellow line and interfered with that ball. So it would not have been a home run. It remains the same. Now Osmus wants to go out and talk to Dale Scott.
Well, you know, the only thing I was thinking, Osmus, there's no way he could argue that his guy would have had a chance to catch it.
No, man on first base, it's an automatic double, so you leave him at third base and you don't let the run score. But with 2 outs, he's off and running, and it doesn't matter. He would have scored if it's off the wall.
Brandon Moss, RBI single his last time up. Pulls it foul, broke his back. the 0-1. Moss pops it up. Second baseman Ian Kinsler makes the catch. Indians get a run closer, but we head to the ninth. 8-4 Detroit.
Ninth inning. It's time now for the Pat O'Brien play of the game. After the Indians came back and put 3 on the board in the bottom half of the 6th, Yoenis Cespedes, an 0-2 base hit, gets on and makes a very heads-up play here, tagging. You can see Bourne backpedaling, still on the grass, and hustles his way into scoring position. Well, after the wild pitch there by Zipchinski, he came into the ball game. Now you're going to see a base hit off his leg. That kept the ball in play in the infield. Cespedes scores. They took a little bit of that momentum away. They were able to add 2 more on after that part of the game. And I'll tell you what, they took a lot of that momentum away and they added on. They took the 3 right back from the Indians.
Nick Hagedorn will come on out of pitch here in the 9th with the Tribe trailing 8-4. Nick Castellanos singled and scored in the 2nd inning, and then clobbered a 2-run homer that knocked Zach McAllister out of the game in the 5th. Down on the dirt, and it's 1-1.
Nick came in yesterday for the 9th inning, was able to get the first strikeout and then gave up the home run. That was the first and only hit in that ball game yesterday in Houston.
One-two pitch. That's lifted out of play to the right. Well, this is a team that the Indians have to try and find a way to get by. Last year they were 8-11 against Detroit. But what's troubling when you look back to last year is the Indians had a lot of success early in the season against the Tigers, but at the end of the year when they needed them, Detroit turned the tables on them, won the last 4 straight, to close out the season series.
And won 6 out of 10 here last year. They came in here and dominated, and they come right back. They feel very comfortable in this ballpark. They score runs. You're going to have to score if you want to beat them. You got to outscore them.
2-2.
This is not a team you can shut down a whole lot and try and hold them to 1 or 2 runs. If you do, you're throwing a masterpiece. Your offense has got to get ready, and you got to come out of the chute and start swinging.
Minnesota Twins got their first win of the year, blanking the White Sox 6-0. Meanwhile, Chicago is 0-4.
Boy, how about the shutouts so far this year? All around baseball. There have been quite a few.
Well, the Astros almost shut out the Rangers today, beat them 5-1. Castellanos draws a leadoff walk.
The batter for Detroit, the catcher, Alex Avila.
Alex Avila. He has struck out twice, he has walked twice, and scored a run.
Coming into today, there have been 14 shutouts. So now 15 for the White Sox.
Avila. It's a strike. Yeah, the White Sox were held to just 3 hits today in that game when they were shut out by Minnesota. Nick Hagedorn with the 0-1 pitch to Avila. And it's a pop-up.
Should come back easily.
Like Avilas into foul ground. 1 away. Stick around for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Alan Jensen will have their set fired up from the corner. Probably be a few lively patrons staggering by to.
I was thinking that. Have their say. Right. I think they ought to interview a few of them.
Jose Iglesias. Couple of hits today, an RBI, a run scored. One account on Iglesias. So that means the White Sox are the only team left in the American League without a win. Still a few teams in the National League trying to get off the schneid. Brewers, Pirates, Marlins. All winless through their first 3 games. Now the 2-1. Hagedorn, 14 pitches, 7 balls, 7 strikes. Bullseye and a full count. Line drive single into right field by Iglesias. So 2 on, 1 out here in the ninth, and Anthony Gose will be coming to the plate. Colorado is baseball's first 4-0 team after they beat the Cubs earlier today. Tigers, if they hold on here, they will go to 4-0. Atlanta also out of the gates fast with a 3-0 start. Same can be said for Cincinnati after they swept Pittsburgh. Kansas City also 3-0 to start the campaign. Got a pinch runner here?
Yeah.
Castellanos will leave the ball game for a pinch runner. And it's Andrew Romine who will come on a run for him. For Detroit, 2 on, 1 out. Anthony Gose with 2 hits on the day, a swing and a miss. The Tigers have been retired in order today 1 time. So as you pointed out in the early going, the fielders, they've done a lot of time standing on their feet out there today waiting.
Yeah, chasing things down. They sure have. When you scatter 18 hits around the ballpark, and what do we got, 3 walks? They've had, I mean, every inning. Yeah, a lot of traffic is right.
Strikes him out on 3 pitches. 2 down. And Ian Kinsler will be the batter. 2 for 5 with an RBI triple back in the 7th. And Hagedorn lets it fly, and there's a fly ball toward right center. Rayburn moving over, makes the catch, and the inning is over. No runs, a hit, 2 men left. We go to the bottom of the ninth. 8-4 Detroit. Eight 8-4 Detroit as we go to the bottom of the ninth, and we'll take a look back at our Wayside Furniture keys to the game controlling the guys in front of Cabrera.
Well, it seemed like everybody in the lineup had 2 hits today. It's one of those things.
Yeah, nothing went as planned today for the Indians.
No.
That's pretty much it. End of story.
They couldn't get the crowd in it early. They did get them in it by the 6th inning, but then by the 7th, they took them right back out of it.
Jabba Chamberlain will come on and pitch now for Detroit.
He appeared in 69 games for him last year. Didn't know if they were going to re-sign him over the offseason. Ended up re-signing with the Tigers.
Well, Jabba Chamberlain will be facing Yan Gomes, Mike Aviles, and Ryan Rayburn here in the bottom of the 9th. Gomes is 0 for 3. Get into a double play his last time up. And that was a big at bat in the game from Detroit's standpoint, because the Indians had 5 consecutive hits. They went to the bullpen, and Albuquerque got Gomes to bounce into an inning-ending 5-4-3 double play. At that point, the crowd was into it. They were alive. It was a 5-3 game. I mean, if Gomes by any chance would have gotten into one right there, the roof might have come off the place. The 0-2 pitch just misses. Andrew Romine, who pinch ran for Castellanos, stays in the game at 3rd. And a 1-2 outside and in the dirt. That's out of play down the right side. So Gomes hanging in there, trying to get something started for the Indians here in the 9th.
There you go.
And there's a base hit down the right field line. J.D. Martinez over to cut it off. And the Indians have their leadoff man aboard here in the 9th.
He's been trying to serve it that way. He got a pitch elevated up in the zone out over the plate that he's able to swing and get a base hit. Easy to take it that way. A good job of staying on it. So Gomes gets his first hit today, the 9th hit for the Indians.
Now Mike Aviles fly to left. His only time up. One pitch. Way outside. 2 balls and a strike. Well, the sellout crowd today here at Progressive Field announced at 35,789.
I used to hold, what, 43?
Well, back in 07, they, in the playoffs, announced crowds were around 43, 44,000. Right. Swing and a miss by Aviles, evens the count at 2-2. Java Chamberlain gave up a leadoff hit to Yan Gomes. Now Aviles with a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Check, did he go? And he's punched out by Dale Scott. 1 away.
He certainly didn't think so. He doesn't agree. Let's look at it from the side. Boy, borderline. But brings him up. It's out number 1. Yeah, not there. Take it down the runway.
Ryan Rayburn fly to center in the 7th. Takes low, ball 1. Chamberlain with a second glance at home plate umpire Lance Barrett. And it's 2-0 now for Ryan Rayburn. Tribe trying to put the heat on Chamberlain. Two balls and a strike. Rayburn, like Aviles, came on as a pinch hitter in the 7th. Jose Ramirez waits on deck. Up high, 3-1.
Chamberlain's like a slider master. At least he was last year. A lot of sliders coming out of that hand. Joaquin Soria is up in the Tigers bullpen if needed. Get another base runner aboard. See what happens. Ooh, that might have helped him out. A big breaking ball there. Went straight down. Rayburn swings over the top.
Now it's a full count.
Put a little more tilt to this one, having it go straight down.
Now the payoff pitch. Got him looking. 2 down.
He comes back after the 3-1. He throws that 3-1. It looked like a curveball going straight down. And that slider right there stayed right on the dish on the outside edge. It was a good pitch for Chamberlain. He comes back, gets back-to-back strikeouts. 1 out away now.
Jose Ramirez will try to keep it alive now. Two quick strikes. Isn't that something? Chamberlain was really struggling with his command, kind of in and out all of a sudden, and now
and 1 pitch, 3-1, great breaking ball.
And the 0-2 Ramirez with a line drive base hit into left field. That'll keep it alive as Gomes stops at second base.
No-2 pitch, and it looked like he kept it upstairs. Ramirez, yeah, just went the other way with it.
And Brad Ausmus will take no chances. Chamberlain can't get out of the inning. He yields 2 hits. He gets 2 outs. But with the tying run moving to the on-deck circle, Ausmus will go to Joakim Soria here in the 9th. Brad Ausmus goes to Joakim Soria, who is now the closer with Joe Nathan on the disabled list. He'll get an opportunity now with Michael Bourne at the plate. And this is a save situation, even though it's a 4-run game, because the tying run is in the on-deck circle when he enters the game. Bourne is 2 for 3 with a walk and 2 runs scored. Something rolling down the first baseline, and that caught Bourne out of the corner of his eye, and he immediately asked for time, and it was granted because I think the home plate umpire saw it tumbling his way as well. One-0 pitch. Down low. Tigers still have that odd alignment defensively for Bourne in the outfield. I say odd. It looks odd. They're obviously playing it because they feel that's where Bourne's going to hit the ball. But, I mean, look at the gap just to the right of second base in the outfield.
Yeah. Yep.
2-0. Bourne looked like he was taken all the way.
Well, he was, because you know what? You need another base runner. Why not? Make him throw a strike. Don't help him out. If he can get on, then the tying run at least comes to the plate. So you need one more base runner to make things happen.
Soria taking a long time now. He deals. Just did catch the bottom of the strike zone. It's 2-2. Crowd doesn't like it. Not so sure Bourne's thrilled either. Let's take another look. I think that's low. Bad break for Bourne. And he rings them up to end the game. So the Tigers topple the Indians in the Tribe's home opener by a final score of 8-4. As Detroit goes to 4-0 and the Indians fall to 2-2. Alfredo Simon gets the win. He's 1-0. And then Joakim Soria notches his first save. Losing pitcher is Zach McAllister. He'll go to 0-1 now on the year. And the Indians will try to bounce back and even this series up tomorrow as they send the Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber to the hill against left-hander David Price. That should be another terrific matchup here in Cleveland. So the Tigers spoil the party. They get the win by a final today of 8-4. We're back with Indians Live, presented by Conrad's, coming up next.